Hi everyone, welcome to yet another interesting episode of my authentic real estate stories with CEO of Lagos. Today we're going to have a very interesting conversation. I have two gentlemen here seated with me, and you know what they say, twice as nice. So if you have two spices in a meal, it changes the taste. So today I know that listening to both of them share with us their authentic real estate story, we would be able to inspire a lot of you out there. These stories would tell to help us connect the dots backward and then make the sense of the world around us. So allow me introduce to you today these two amazing gentlemen, Mr. Jide Adekola and Mr. Chima of Homeworks Group. Jide Adekola is the co-founder and group managing director of Homework Group, a conglomerate that consists of an architectural practice, a property development company, a facility management company, and a property investment platform, amongst others. He is a registered architect with over 15 years experience in architecture and the property development space, both in Nigeria and in the United Kingdom. Studying home and abroad, Jide is passionate about changing the skyline of Lagos and Nigeria as a whole with unique products that stand out, as well as ensuring the entire ecosystem is sustainable with significant impact on people's lives, the economy, source of living, and investments. As a member of several boards, he sees himself as an aggregator positioned to help you achieve your real estate potential, no matter who you are in the value chain. With us also is Mr. Chima. Chima is a trained architect, a property developer, and an avid enthusiast of green design and sustainability. He's a co-founder of Homework Group, a multidisciplinary group with subsidiaries that focus on architecture, property development, and facility management, amongst others. An experienced player in the real estate space with qualifications in architecture and environmental design and demonstrated history of working in built environment industry. Chima serves as a director at Homework Group. Welcome, Mr. Jide and Mr. Chima. I am so glad that you are able to come out here, share your story with us today, and hopefully inspire me and inspire a lot of our audience today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Before I go into our questions for today, it's quite interesting listening to conversations with you in the past, and then reading your profile, realizing that you were friends, you practically grew into adult men together. Did you at any point in your lives decide and plan that you wanted to be architects, or did Nigeria happen to you, or family? Growing up, a lot of us, me inclusive, my parents wanted me to study. In fact, everyone in the house, they had a plan from first to last who was studying what. So was that the case here, or how did you both end up in architecture?
So I think maybe I'll start from how the story came from my angle. I'm sure Chima will have his own angle, but it actually stemmed from way back. Incidentally, we were in the same secondary school, King's College. We knew each other not so well, but we knew, we knew of ourselves. But what really...
So your story dates back to King's College? It dates back
to King's College. And the thing is, Chima's mom was a teacher in Queen's College. She was also a teacher in King's College as well. Oh, wow. So I had sisters in Queen's College. So there was this thing about us already knowing that there's this teacher. So you already know the teacher because he's one of your teachers. Yes. And obviously you will know the teacher's children, And then my sisters also knew her in King's College. Well, for some reason along the line also, my dad knew Chima's mom, and a lot. So my dad was a professor in University of Lagos. He became the deputy vice chancellor. So what happened was he was one of those that just liked to help people. So he wasn't doing anything for money. So what he really did was, if we brought any of our friends, or he found somebody that he felt, needed help for his child to come in, he will try and help. So it actually did happen that, and I think this was a fallout from the fact that he knew that this is our teacher. He's always coming for our open days and all that. So clearly he knew. So I'm saying this because there's some kind of connection family-wise from even way back, and since then, what I had personally was, I used to be a straight A student, but the thing is, when I say I mean back then because I'm out of school. So a straight A student, but it was majorly because I was reading because I needed to read. But there was one thing that struck me, that when I started doing fine art and technical drawings, that was the only thing that kept me up at night. So the way somebody would read biology and stay up at night in secondary school, but that was one thing that kept me up at night, that I would be happy to go to school the next day to even show I got this thing. Because the way technical drawing is, they can show you an engine and show you, engine, the four sides are not the same. So they show you one elevation and maybe the plan and tell you to figure out the rest. And I think this is where this vision thinking starts from. You start to imagine what is on the other sides, and that's what takes you up the whole night. And you can't wait to go and show
of your work.
Yes. And then I think then my dad came for one of the open houses, and one of the teachers then, of blessed memory now, just told him, look, this boy must do either architecture or mechanical engineering. So it was unlike other people that you have this direction to, you must do this, you must do that. This one it's like from that secondary school, we just knew it. So doing my jam was architecture. In fact, I picked architecture. My dad said, you have to pick something else. So I said, okay, mechanical engineering, because he was in the engineering department and he was in electrical engineering. So moving forward, we came into school. So I did not know what Chima was doing at that time. I did not know whether I was going to pick architecture. I didn't really know, but we just met. So there was this at that time there was this there were issues with coming straight into university. So there were like 2 sets waiting. Piled up. So they just allowed all of us enter, because Chima was a set ahead of me, even though from primary school from primary 5 he jumped inside.
He jumped.
All the same size. All the same size. So really, we just met there KC. So that was how. And obviously, architecture is 6 straight years, but in our case it was 7 because of the strikes. And I think then, I'm not sure what, I think Chima will clarify, but I'm not sure what my dad helped to do. One of the students, I think he's a senior brother, to get into school, to get into Unilag. And so the mom already knew us. Then my brother was a bit stubborn then. He was still in secondary school, and she helped to teach him or check on him in King's College. So there was already a family thing. So as at that time, the good thing about what happened with me, from year 2, year 3, I was already reading real estate brochures for studying real estate abroad. So it's almost like it was almost clear that this is what I want. So I didn't think there was any fad. I didn't think there was any other example or any other profession. Amazing. That's how it was
amazing.
For me.
So how did it work for you, Mr. Chima?
All right. So in fact, it's funny. I was telling some of my staff this story I think some days ago. So it's really funny how growing up I wanted to be a medical doctor. It's really funny. It was medicine or nothing.
Oh wow! For
me, there was no plan B or plan C. It was medicine or nothing. And as it turned out, so in the senior secondary school, senior secondary school days, when choosing your subject, so I chose physics, chemistry, biology, which were the requisite subjects, and the other subjects were now a matter of interest. It so happens that ever since childhood, I've always loved to draw. Yes, I've always been the artsy type of person. So in fact, my mom liked to tell the story that growing up, okay, so I have no interest in football. This is not that it's an engaging game, I'm sure, but I don't bother because I've just not picked the interest. So my mom always said that whenever they were watching a football match, I'll be sitting down drawing all of them while watching the football match.
Oh, you used to draw?
Because I like to draw and there was no one to play with me at that time, so now I ended up drawing them.
Wow.
So growing up, my mom, my parents made us believe in Santa Claus. So every Christmas, Santa will come and give us, we actually believed that there was an actual Santa Claus. It was up until maybe I think I was about 8, and I realized that Santa's handwriting looked a bit like my mom's handwriting. And I realized, okay, so it was the same person. So, So, but anyways, so growing up, Santa always gave me a drawing book, colored pencils, sketch pads, crayons, things to encourage that art interest. And Santa will give my older brother, the toy guns, the footballs, because he was much more active. So, and it's actually something that I'm really grateful to my mom for doing, for just, for seeing that at that age, I had that inclination and taking time to nurture it indirectly.
Amazing.
So into secondary school. So after choosing physics, chemistry, biology, the other subject I had to take, so it was a choice, art or TD, that's technical drawing. I took fine arts. So there were subjects according to my interest. So the year I finished school, so I while in school, just before finishing, I wrote JAM to study medicine, and I got above the cutoff for medicine in my chosen school, which was UNN. But as around that time, there were upheavals. So basically, I couldn't go to school at that time. I had to wait for 1 year. So during that gap year, when I was at home, and this was way before the internet, way before social media, this was between 97 and 98. So when you're at home and your parents have gone to work, your siblings have gone to school, you have no choice but to do what you really love to do. And what I loved to do at that time was draw. So day in, day out, just drawing, reading books, reading books. So, and drawing, experimenting with different media. Then my mom now said playfully that since I draw so well, why don't I study fine art? But I laughed it off because that didn't even make sense to me. Because why would I I already draw without studying fine art. Why would I go and waste my time and come back and still be at the same place? And then so there was the day I did a painting for a friend of mine, and I was working to frame it. And one of my friends now saw me on the road, and she saw the painting, and she said, I want to study medicine. Why not study architecture? And it's amazing that she planted that seed on a very fertile ground at planting season. Let me explain. She said this to me about maybe a week before I was to submit my JAM form. So that was the planting season. And then I went to and I did some soul searching, and I asked myself, so why do you want to study medicine? Yes, you want to help the world, you want to make the world a better place and all of that. But is this really your passion? What have you been doing for 1 year? You've just been at home just drawing and exploring your creative side. So then I had to talk with my parents, and I said, I think I want to study architecture. I expected full kickback. But they said, not bad. And they obviously could see the reason, because they saw that I love to draw.
The inclination,
so, yes. So, and that was it. So, and it's funny now. Recently, there's this test, like a personality quiz test, where you do, and it will tell you the kind of person you are. Yes. So there are different results. There's the adventurer, there's the politician, there's the advocate. So I did the test, and it told me you're an architect. I said, wow. I could have told you this for free. So I did it twice just to be clear. He said, you're an architect. I said,
wow.
Okay. So anyway, so that's how come I ended up studying architecture, and then so as Jide said, we're in the same school together. My mom taught his sisters and taught his younger brother and him too at some point, and then we now met in so we met at family functions. Then we met in Unilag again, and obviously because of the familial bonds and and the history, so we bonded from there. And the rest, as they say, is history.
So let me ask Mr. Jide, were you privy to this planting season story?
No. So I have, in fact, there's some parts I'm just
You're just learning,
now.
and that's the amazing, part of this conversation. So you get to experience on another level someone who you've actually been working with, for the past 14 years. Officially, you said, and you're just realizing now this is why he actually got into this field. Amazing. So I'd like to ask you now, do you think that this background in architecture formed a prerequisite of some sort for your partnership?
Well, yes, to a very large extent. So the thing about architecture is that it's a very vast field, and there are different types of mindsets that will shape your viewpoint work-wise. So my kind of person, I'm a little bit, in fact not a little bit, to a large extent, I focus on details and the little things that make things work. So at work, Jide is by far he's the vision bearer. Jide is the one that sees the large scale picture. So he's the one that goes for, that comes and says, Chima, so I think this, I think that, I think this. I say, okay, that's fine. So it's now, okay, so how do we make this work?
So you deal with the nitty-gritty.
The nitty-gritty, so, the little screws and all the gears that have to fit together to make everything turn, to make the machine move, and then where the machine is going to, Jide is, okay, yes, we are going here, like, okay, fine.
So he's the driver.
By far the vision driver.
Amazing. Jide, do you share this sentiment?
Oh yes. So it's funny. It's not as if we sat down to have that conversation, but we've always known that, and even from the beginning, it had always been, wow, I can't do this thing you're doing. Like, I cannot even just sit down and start to detail stuff. And because of experience, so it's not as though we've left university and went straight. We started the company, but we knew that we had to go and get experience. So in fact, I remember there was a job Chima got, and they were already thinking, Chima, are you living there? So when I'll come, maybe I should come there. When I said, no, let's try to find out stuff from different places. I worked with Jide Adekola, one of the top architectural firms in the country, and the experience now even further solidified what we thought, because for architecture you have different aspects. You have the design, concept sketch, where you have all the 3Ds, but in the middle of all of that you have the construction documentation, where you are the actual. So when you see these 3Ds, as you know, is nice, and the construction documentation don't look that nice. In fact, if you are showing a buyer that type of drawing, they say, what's all this? I can't see anything. So yes. So you write all the square meters, you put the dimensions, you do details. So in that company, because they used to do the big projects, the guys doing the details can come from a tech, like maybe Yaba Tech, or because they are very detailed.
And then who does the rendition parts?
The rendition parts
with
is the first
technology now.
Yes, then there was technology, so there was 3Ds and all. So the first stage, you had people that were passionate. So it shows you how, even if you are passionate about architecture, there are certain aspects of it that you might be better off in, and you should not even bother about it. And thank God for my boss then, Fred Coker. He noticed it. That first of all, you are fast, so you can churn out new concept sketch designs in 2 days, and you can do 10 in a month, and it can be an Ikoyi property, it can be a skyscraper. You're not really bothered about how it works. You're just after getting the job and making sure it's flashy. Now we move it to these guys that can sit down on one drawing for like 3-4 months before they can get the whole construction documentation ready. They are discussing with it, and then there's the supervision on site. So the guy picked it from an early stage that you can start with you're good at the design and the supervision part, but you see, you might have to monitor the guys doing that. So this is where a bit of management started coming in. So if reinforced what we were already discussing, even when we did not even know how a building will work. And then when we came back, we're like, look, you are the detail guy. As in, I don't really even want to know
so
what's going on.
Everybody shared their work.
Yes, and it was so clear. There's no drag on that matter. When you are really like, no. In fact, I will tell my staff, come and meet architecture, he will sort that out. I know he will. So there's no agidi. Even when you think you want to get one detail, I will still come and say, see this thing. What do you think? Same thing. If Chima sees,
so you both know where your strengths lie, and you just leave each other in that space, not trying to walk over anyone's head. Amazing. So put in the right context for us now. How did this journey start? So let's start with Mr.
So yes, we knew. So we had a lot of friends, obviously classmates and friends. It's so funny that I wasn't really the outgoing type, but I used to run raves. That's like, so instead of clubs, you actually get people out.
Gigs.
Yes, gigs. So it was really the business part. So while everybody's partying, we were at the gates counting the money and all of that. And Chima was more reserved. Even though he was doing a bit of business, it was actually, the business is even in the same art. We used to do cards and all of that, So I think it was one I dragged him to, but I'm not sure whether he came back again after that one party. He
doesn't look like he likes parties.
So that was what I was. So I had a lot of friends. I actually had a clique, and it's so funny that it's not as if Chima was in that clique, but they clique in the class. But the thing is, we always had that connection. from even all of that. Even in that, when you are gisting with everybody, you still go and talk to Chima and be like, so we always used to play around. But
he looks like your sounding board.
Something like that. So when we now finally, when things were now wrapping up, we started having this conversation. I really don't know how it started, but we started having this one-on-one conversation because I felt I could have been having this conversation with any of the other friends, but we actually sat down in the BQ of my house and we actually got the name homework. So it's not that work has started or there's a building or there's a business or there's even CAC.
You were just envisioning.
So there was a card before CAC even came. We designed the cards.
Wow.
So one of the things we said was, let's use this company to try and just chase what we are chasing. I have an account, you have an account. Get as many jobs as you can. Let's just showcase ourselves. But we just feel we need to get a bit of experience because you cannot just jump into the world outside there. And the truth is that this happened from what's it called? From before leaving school. And what also helped was...
Oh, you were still in school when you set up the company?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So when we now left and we're getting this experience, we're always rubbing minds. Oh, this is what they're doing in this year. In fact, I will send the drawing. This is how a proper detailed drawing should be done. And he looks at it like, oh wow. So he looks at it, we'll do rubbing mind, he'll tell me about we'll catch up, tell me about what's going on his end. But one critical thing was that at the end of the day, I had clients. I was going to go abroad for school, and I already had clients that were, and the only one person I could just pass them. So there was a very fast introduction. So this is Chima, my partner. We were not even. It was in Festac. I was in Yaba. So it's not even as if we had an office. But it was like, look, so Chima, meet Mrs. This, Mrs. This, Mrs. This. Please attend to it while I'm abroad. And you see, that's even further cemented relationship because we would just catch up on each other. It's so funny, we're running 2 different accounts. We didn't even want to know what was going on. It's not like contribute to this. No, just live your life. Try and when we're ready to now kick this off officially, we will now, probably when we're back and we do everything, we can now set it up. But for now, we opened the company, we did the CAC thing, and then just opened 2 accounts, and that was it.
Amazing. So we're already beginning to understand who is who, from this partnership. But I'd also like to know who is more risk open, who is the risk first, person, who is very conservative, who doesn't like to spend money, who likes to blow the money. Let me ask you, Mr. Chima.
It's funny. I mean, I'm pretty sure you have a good sense of the risk taker and the more risk averse.
I don't think it's drawn on the face. But maybe for people who go to gigs or organize gigs, they like to show themselves more. But let's allow you speak to that.
I'll say that I like to go skydiving, but before I jump out of the plane, I will check and double check and triple check and quadruple check to be sure everything is in place. Then take the jump. So I like to think that I take the extra effort to ensure that nothing goes wrong. So that will make me the one who is not really. I mean, so risks. I mean, you always take risks, but for me, they have to be calculated risks. So I'll do all that calculation. So that's where that detail, the attention will come into place. So I would say that between both of us, we are both risk takers, because to even start up a business on your own, and know that this is your mainstay at a time when all of your colleagues are all updating CVs, and so for it to jump off that cliff of financial security at that time in itself is a risk. But I would say that I will do the extra further maths and the calculus to ensure that the risk is calculated and it is safe, and there's a margin of safety. Then we jump.
So yes. How does your individual personalities, how do they come to play at work, and how do you manage these personalities?
I think basically, so yes, so I really love the business books and the things that you probably need to do, and then I'm also very spiritual. So I believe a lot in faith. I believe that things have happened to me through my life that I know faith has a major part, and you know, when you're a faith person, then you have to make moves that are not qualified, so to speak. Like, just make that move. So so I mean, I take those risks, but it's so funny that most times when I feel a bit fuzzy about it, okay, Chima, what do you think? You know, and you know, and I see him holding himself back sometimes too. I've seen this thing work like 3 times. So guy, take the risk. However, can we look at this? Can we look at this? And you see, that's very important for starting up new businesses. I mean, I remember when I wanted to do an investment thing. If a finance institution, they will always, just like the banks, they are the ones that we check on whether you are you check your credit score, check this, check that. So if you want to start a new business, you must also x-ray it and see whether, so it's the first x-ray is, Chima, what do you think? You know, and then that kind of allows you to fly, but having those cautions, you know, and but most importantly, knowing those things. So Chima heads the design team, and that's because we want to get the details right. I had the development team. You need to go and look for money. You need to go and do this. You know, but the implementation itself. So a lot of people ask us that how come you guys can do these many projects? And the truth is that as architects, you're already trained to supervise. I personally, in an architectural firm, can have like 9 projects. You just have the day you're going. Don't bother yourself about money. Don't bother yourself about how do you get the money. You're only just to instruct the client that this is what it is. You have your timetable, you have your dates to go to site, you have your dates for supervision.
So it's safe to say you guys are built, even though you're not women, you are built to multitask.
Exactly. Absolutely. So by the time you are running the project, you just leave it for the architects. Every architect has the job that is working on, but you're already built to ensure that those projects are moving and you're supervising it. So that's where Chima now comes in to just work.
Amazing. So Mr. Chima, what was the big picture that led to, you know, formation of Homework Group?
Okay, so let me say this, that initially, okay, so while I was in school, in my final year of school, I got a job in a real estate firm at Marina. So, and I think that was my first exposure to architectural application beyond the comfort of what you're taught in school. Because in school, you're taught just how to design, not necessarily how to apply what you have learned. Yes. So, so that was my first exposure to, you know, to the possibilities that even your architecture background will present. And then where I was working at, so I was the in-house architect, and there were projects that they had running on the island here and outside Nigeria, in Ghana and the like. So there was that exposure. And Jide himself, you know, finishing and wanting to, you know, to further in real estate. You know, so when he went for the masters and came back, there was a conversation that we had at the time. Okay, so as much as he had worked in ACCL, which was just a design firm, and I think that was key in giving the background, and I had worked in an archi firm too. So what he said, as in his exact words, I'm sure you might not remember, but his words were, so he was going to work in a real estate firm, and now keep working in a design firm. And okay, and then from there, then I started working in a smaller real estate firm, that was more focused on implementation. So his exact words were, so let him focus on the macro, and I'll focus on the micro. Do you remember that? So basically, and I mean, those are the key parts of the puzzle. So you just, okay, so then focus on the big picture, and then you focus on how the puzzles fit together. And so I would say that's to a large extent, that consideration to a large extent is kind of what shaped me. So that's what shaped me professionally. So it was me doing what I was doing, but being aware that I was just a mosaic, or whatever I was doing was just one mosaic piece of the entire big artwork. So it was just one puzzle piece of the entire finished picture at the end.
Amazing. So I see a lot of intentionality from the word go. So how have you translated this into Homework Group in terms of building your team, communicating the vision, and then, you know, just growing Homework Group?
Okay, so how we communicate, remind me of something I read. They said when you have a car and your car your car spoils, then you go to the mechanic and he just fixes the car. But when you want to change the entire car design radically, then you go beyond the hood. You go beyond the bonnet. You go to the drawing board. So it almost reminds me of the football coaches or the football managers themselves, and decisions that they make that have to translate to having the right players on the field at the right time, at the right position. So to a large extent, we have these conversations, and there are these things. This is what keeps us up at night, thinking, okay, so for the design team, what do we think is missing? So this is understanding each member of the team as a human being, and also as a key factor to your overall picture. So we need someone who has skills in this and this and that and that, and then we collate CVs and curate the CVs and look for those particular skills, because those are basically for me, there is little point in replicating puzzle pieces, because so in fact, like I tell them at work all the time, we are not looking for like everybody that. So I said once at the staff meeting, everyone is here because most of us have one thing that the other doesn't have.
So you're all complementing each other.
Yes. So I think that's what's key to building a solid team, knowing that we are all a part of a system. Everybody has a role to play. The example I gave once, I said, so in a car, what's the most important part of the car? And someone said the tire. I said no. And someone said it's But I said, even if you had tires and the engine, if you don't have a steering wheel, you cannot go anywhere.
If you don't have the gear,
you understand. So
you can't engage the car.
Just saying that every single person has that critical, vital role that they play in the big picture to move that car, so to speak, to its right destination.
Amazing. So I'd like to ask you now, how have you been able to sustain the growth over the years? How have you been able to scale and then
So I think it's just like Chima said, it's the vision. When they say you build something bigger than yourself, I think that's where it starts from. Because if we wanted it to be a one-man business, family only, yeah. So I think that vision, and I don't think that vision has, I think it's evolved, but I don't think it has changed, because I still can remember drawing an organogram of all the different parts of what the group would be back when it was not popular. Putting names, almost like saying that we will be at the top as stakeholders, and some of the roles we're having now are multi-roles that will become different people. So I give you an example: Group MD, Director Design, Director Development, Manager. Then there was no manager, it was probably me.
So you were both utility staff?
Yes. I still remember from the island, I would call it the island section of the business, because we literally had, you are in Festac, so you'll be there, I'm here. And the guys will line up, the workers will line up, I will sign checks, and the architect that was working with me will just implement it and put it in an Excel sheet. So no accountant, no, you understand? I still remember that, but that organogram was there. So I think the first thing is that bigger picture, and it's good because it helps you to scale, and it makes you know that you want to scale. And what I like saying is that you have to increase the container for you to be able to. So if you don't create that container to be bigger, so I think that is what we've always been doing. We sit down almost every quarter to analyze where we're going, to see what is happening, what are the trends, what are the new things that are going on now that you need to jump on, what are the things that can allow this whole system work, but knowing fully well that it's a group and an ecosystem. So almost anything that can work with what we're working with, if we know we have the talent to do it, we do it. But one of the things we've also prided ourselves with is that if you are not an expert in this thing, outsource it. So it's either that thing becomes part of the group and it's headed by somebody that is an expert. So you don't think FM, Jide will go and answer FM. No. It's let's keep this vision. So I think that is very important, because when we always have that bigger picture, there is that what's going on. There's a need to understand the scale. So you start looking at money on a different level. Now we shouldn't be talking to just normal investors. We should move institution. We shouldn't be talking to That's how we just take those steps as we move along and increase the vision.
Amazing. So what are some of the experiences that you have encountered during this growth stage?
So I think for scaling, and maybe I'll use a couple of scaling points. So we just started with a couple of developments, in one estate, and realized that a lot of people, and we wanted to focus on people seeing that craft. So that means you see that we can do this thing the way we're doing it. Don't get overwhelmed. Just let's try to concentrate here. And in concentrating here, we now realize that people, I went to LBS and some people are saying, wow, your work is so good, but nobody knows. I don't see you guys outside. And I'm like, I say, yeah, but we're conservative. And they're like, and you're doing development. But I can understand that as an architect. But you're doing development, you can't do that. So that's a clear message to know that maybe people that are not doing as much as you are doing are making this progress because they're exposed. So that's why we came out of the estates to say, okay, you know what, guys, we've gotten to this point. When you're saying, oh, let's get 1 or 2 collaterals because eventually in 2 or 3 years time we should be going to the bank. So this is how you're making plans towards that bigger picture. The second one was mainly investment, and we realized that, okay, we have multiple projects. How are you going to fund the project? So can you get investors on a project by project basis, or do you create a platform where people can come in, contribute, and try to invest? Because you already know, you're already scaling up. So you look at that crowdfunding and say, okay, what are the issues? I mean, it's so funny that I don't know how many years back, but there was a crowdfunding platform that I was talking about probably when it was not popular. It was called Casagopo. This was like, nobody knew. Then it was a tech start thing. It wasn't popular
to do crowdfunding.
And what did we think? We said, okay, look, we have 40 clients paying X amount. If I took 500K from each of these clients, that's almost like an investment fund that can kick off a project. So you now start thinking, so if you had 1 million from X number of people, can you, and that is what has evolved to one of the products we have now. So you see, and it's also a solution for what we are doing at the scale. So I think it's just that continuous thought process around these things. If the vision ended at you want to travel every year with the family, you do one project a year, Chima Jide take, move, do your thing, come again, hey, what's the project for this year? But if it's beyond you, you start thinking about the staff and having and you start thinking about the dream of what you want to bring out, because it's now feeding the design team in the sense that all your developments are now an architectural it's something that you can look at as a yardstick for the architectural jobs and get other architectural jobs that are not developed in-house, and that has already evolved on its own and is creating babies from there, So that's the way. That's what I would say from there.
Mr. Chima, let me ask you now, what are some of the challenges you have experienced during this growth and scaling stage?
Well, so I would say that the greatest variable is basically human beings, because human beings are subject to emotions. Emotions are subject to a cocktail of hormones and whether you come feeling like you're in a good mood, whether you pass through traffic and all of that. So there are all those challenges, and just basically just dealing with the variable parts of human beings, and also obviously the environment. We all know. I mean, there's no gainsaying the fact that several times trying to practice to run business in Nigeria is not exactly the best place if you're looking for ease of business. I mean, there are indexes out there that are giving the facts and figures, but we are seeing the facts and figures ourselves, so we actually don't even need those indexes. So they are the regulatory bodies that we think just replicate themselves, but what do we do? For me, the way I say is sink or swim. So so do you want so basically you're in water, you don't start sinking till you stop swimming. So this one comes, you just keep on swimming and just keep swimming.
Survival mode.
Exactly, survival mode, because that really is what running a business is about. So apart from all those the unfriendly policies, like I said, there's also the human being factor and just learning how to manage them. Initially, I'll be very honest, I used to be quite impatient with people until it was one of, okay, so 2 things happened that kind of changed my viewpoint. First of all was having kids and knowing that you really have to be more patient, because these children do not know this and they would not know except you teach them. So that to a large extent increased my
even when you teach, they want to question.
Exactly. So that to a large extent made me much more patient and tolerant. And that's a mindset, because I was the same person who was going home and coming to work. So I brought that to work, and I kind of became, I basically entered the, let me call it a lecture mode in the office. So in fact, so what we try to do now at work is that we have these sessions at intervals where one person come and teach everybody something that something you're an expert on. So we have like a timetable. So today you're coming to talk to us on this, tomorrow that. It's just sharing that knowledge pool. And I think that these are some of the things that we do to kind of mitigate against the so that when one person leaves, or if one person has to leave to quote unquote fulfill their destiny,
that shock.
Yes, so that person information has already been spread around the office, and we are all one big brain, so to speak.
Amazing. So on this journey so far, do you think you guys have made mistakes? What kind of mistakes have you made? How have you learned, or how did you even navigate through those mistakes?
Yeah, so definitely. I mean, we can't come here and say there are no mistakes. That is, and it's also even the approach to mistakes, because the way I look at it, I try to look at it as a stepping stone or a learning point. And I think that's very important, and it's also the spirit of you also wanting to learn and humbling yourself. So, I mean, if I really do make a mistake, I will actually come and say, Chima, that decision I made, I don't think it's, this is what is happening. I think we still discussed one in the car as we were coming. So that's how vulnerable, even though you knew that you're not using ego to say, we said this because of, that's why it's important to share.
This will take me to my next question, but let me allow you finish. Yeah.
So the thing is, there have been mistakes. Sometimes it might be you taking too much, and in taking too much, we actually learned something. So there's a way we carefully take on what we're taking on.
So no overtrading.
No overtrading. And also trying to also solve that. In solving that problem, you actually might end up getting a breakthrough. And I think we had something like that happen. So in a way, we didn't even totally blame the mistake, because we're like, we learned this from the mistake. And the funny thing is that it's really the approach, because if you look all around that mistake, I feel nothing happens by just chance. I think that thing that happened, there was a reason for it. But if you look at it and just beat yourself over it and move away, you don't get anything to learn. I would almost say that anything that sounded like a mistake had one or two things that ended up being a blessing in disguise. Either we learned something, or we learned something about people, or we learned something about what we should have done better, and we now did it better. So I think that's what's important. If I give, that overtrading was a very important part of it, but it was also very critical in the scaling up.
Amazing. So you've had the experience of overtrading.
Oh yes.
That eventually kickstarts the scaling process, or it jumped it up.
Exactly. So the most important thing is the learning from that mistake, really. Because at the end of the day, yes, you talked about it jump-starting other things. It jump-started other things, and we realized that, this is just when they tell you that capacity-wise, you don't understand your capacity until there's some kind of pressure. You don't know what you can do until that. So that was the positive part of those trading, because you now know the extent to which you can go. You now know that you need money. So you need to you need to pick up the phone and call people. You need to give feedback. You need to communicate with people, whether things are going well or they are not going well. So that even made us discover ourselves even better. So for me, I would say the direction was just more like, yes, there might have been a mistake, but at the end of the day, what are the positives from these things?
Okay, so I had mentioned that I was going to pick up, a conversation from that conversation. So we've seen hundreds, thousands, even partnerships, fall apart. What do you think, are those things that have made yours, successful?
So I think first I'll say the reason you came into it in the first place, very critical. If somebody was thinking of making money, I'm sure if Chima was trying to define me, he would probably define me as that, the way he knows me, like in-depth knows me, and I will do the same. So it's not about, and then it's the empathy and the understanding and the fact that you can submit yourself to correction. So once ego is out of the way, to be honest, once greed is out of the way, and religion is very important. Religion in this case, I won't say religion. I would say yes. I would say
some of these other
fear of God.
vices. Yeah.
So if you're the kind of person that understands that, I mean, I was reading out I don't think Chima knows this, but I was reading out my affirmations one day, and and I spoke about myself, and I said or rather the same thing for Chima. So I didn't know an outsider heard me say it.
Oh wow.
But this is in your private space. So it just tells you that you're not, we'll be very wealthy with this thing that we're doing. And so same thing for Chima's family.
Yes,
same thing. So if you're not thinking that way, you won't, you're looking, and the thing is that it has filtered now to the staff. Because you are now trying to see, okay, how can we uplift these people? How can we? Yes, you might find the ones that will do and just go but the truth is, at the end of the day, like I said, once it's bigger than yourself. So if it was someone that was planning one grand idea of how he was going to just ensure that he is going to make a kill, and it's only him and his family, that's where things start getting wrong. So I think that's the major thing, and that's from the source, Then even moving forward, major thing is like that humility to be able to even have a conversation. Chima, I don't think I didn't really think I made a good judgment on this one. I can see that there are even sometimes that Chima will be like, Jide, I'm not sure about this or more. I've seen it happen 2 or 3 times and it was successful. I think you should go ahead, try it. And it makes you come back easy, even if it was an error. It makes you, you could easily, and I think that's important. And respect for the fellow human being, the respect for the fellow person you're speaking with. I mean, if you have that respect, have that mutual respect, and don't forget we are family too. So in a way, just like they say in marriage, I don't even know what I will do. What will I tell Chima's mom? Chima will be like, what will I tell my dad? Do you understand? So there's a bit of, and they're looking up to us because again, programs like this where we're even speaking about it shows that it's an example to a lot of people.
That's the very essence. Yeah. That's the very essence of this whole conversations, being able to show people, especially outside, especially inside, not outside now, the real estate world, that partnerships do work, because we don't have a lot of collaborations in the real estate space. If you have noticed, we don't have a lot of collaborations, and it is something that a lot of us need to wake up to, because sometimes most of the holdbacks is the entry barrier. Now, but when you are able to collaborate with 1, 2 or more people, it makes it a bit easier, and then that vision is carried, and then you take it to the next level. And so, Mr. Chima, let me ask, what are those legal frameworks that that are required in building sustainable partnerships and collaborations? What has worked in Homework Group?
Okay, so let me say that when I remember calling my mom and telling her that, okay, so Jide and I were going to going to a partnership, and I remember her being extremely happy, because she calls Jide her son, because of like I said, since secondary school we go way back. So I remember her being extremely happy. At the time, she wasn't in town. Now my mom is an accountant, and I mean in school she taught accounting. So there was a book that so she called me. I mean after giving her the news, then she called me and said, Chima, go to my wardrobe where I keep my books. There's an accounts book by, told me the author. The name of the book is Principles of Accounting. Take that book, then open, then check, read out the tables of contents. And so I was reading everything, and then there was one that spoke about partnership and and so it was basically just her, because she was an architect, so this was her own way of, I would say, contributing, saying, okay, so look, I can't
just
design,
planted the
I
seed.
can't draw, but so since you guys are going to a partnership, go to this book, this chapter, everything you want to know on partnership is all in there. So I remember reading the book. I remember bringing it to the office, Jide, see you, my mom, and we went through it, and I think to a large extent that has that shapes the framework that that should be the paperwork framework that basically bound us together.
Amazing. So let me make it a bit fun. If you were a building, Mr. Jide, what kind of building? Classic or contemporary?
No, definitely contemporary.
Contemporary.
Definitely contemporary. Definitely.
And Mr. Chima looks like the classic.
That's what you would think. That's
So
what you would
shock
think.
me, please.
But I will be extremely contemporary.
Oh, amazing.
I think even just thinking about that, I knew that would be the answer.
Even from my arts background, so I will be extremely contemporary. Yes.
So if you weren't partners, at this point, all through going through school together, family, friendship, and all, if you weren't partners, what do you think, this relationship would have been? Where do you think you individually would have been?
So personally, I think I will have still done architecture and development.
Practice, okay.
But what I can almost bet is that the finesse that should have come with it might not have come with it.
There.
But
Amazing.
I know I will have been.
So it's an
Definitely
amazing
development.
compliment.
Yes, it's an amazing.
So I've been quiet. I'm trying to. I actually don't have an answer to that because I can't fully imagine.
Yes.
So so that's like asking you. So if you were not working, what do you mean? I don't know, because we are born to work. So I actually can't even think of it, because I think the collaboration started extremely, in fact, at the very beginning of the career. So it's at the point where at every career step, Jide, so what do you do? So micro, and so I can't even think of an alternate universe where it would have been different. I would like to have been doing something, maybe the same thing, but maybe obviously at a, because without Jide's vision, obviously, I might have been a bit more short-sighted.
A bit more conservative.
Yes. I'll tell you this for free, that there are several things. In fact, okay, so let me give you one example. At the beginning of the lockdown, there was the global uncertainty. There was this new novel virus that no one had ever heard about, coronavirus, so there was a lockdown. How long, we don't know. So here they said lockdown for 1 month. Well, people in the US said almost that their own is like 4 months.
And even extended.
Yes. But I'm saying at the very beginning there was that uncertainty.
Yes.
So and we didn't want to lay off. So we said, okay, let's try and work from home and let's just focus on meetings, and trainings, because as the saying I read somewhere goes, it said fishermen, when the weather is bad, what do? They mend their tents. So basically, so let's just take this time to just mend our tent and just boost ourselves. So amongst some back and forth conversation that I had with Jide at the time, so Jide, he had there was a 10-year plan that he drew up, a 10-year plan, 5-year plan, 3-year plan, 1-year plan. So conservative me, I'll be very, very honest. So I looked at the 3-year plan and said, this Jide is guys. So
What kind of high jump have I put myself in?
No, inside this COVID at that time, inside this, we don't know. Are you serious?
You don't know whether you're surviving the COVID yet.
I'll be honest. So I looked at it and I said, so I mean, as much as I agree, but I know that I was like, wow. But to God be the glory, that 3-year plan was achieved within a year. It was really, really funny that how the COVID year ended up being, I would say, one of our most successful years, if you pound for pound. compared to the other years that we thought that was plenty. The pre-COVID years.
Why was that though?
That's another long conversation, but I think it all boils down to Maslow's hierarchy.
True.
I think that's what it boils down to.
Hierarchy of need.
Yes,
The first vaccine for COVID was home.
Yes. So exactly, it said stay at home.
Yeah.
So I think that's what everything just boils down to. So I think there was that financial and investment shake-up. So I think the money markets, capital, there was a whole lot of there was that uncertainty. So people now started to want to save more because of the uncertainty. And this saving more, banks were giving next to nothing as interest rates. The other traditional means of saving that they were aware of, they just couldn't rely on it. And they all fell back to what was the most basic thing which was housing. I think
another important part too was a lot of people were at home and on their computers and their tabs. So marketing and exposure was a lot more. People are concentrating. You're not on the road trying to get to work and trying. So they were looking more. They were shopping more. They were looking. So it was an opportunity to also have brand awareness. And all of that. I think that was another addition to COVID. Not COVID.
Amazing. So thank you so much. In rounding up, I'd like to ask you first, Mr. Jide, for the young ones out there who are looking to go into some kind of partnership, either in real estate or outside real estate, some kind of collaboration. What would you say to them? How should they begin to chart their course?
Yeah. So for me, I'm really a sucker for collaboration. And I feel that, everybody, first of all, you go further if you think that way. Just look at what we've discussed now. I'm clearly, I'm not even trying to compete. Yes, I'm not even trying to compete. I know that this is what, and he knows as well.
Your strengths.
Now, this has even gone to business relationship. Yes, you might have gotten burnt because of what you said about some people don't recognize collaboration as collaboration. If they see it the way we see it, sometimes we find it hard when we see that some landowners just say, we want to work with you. Why? I always ask them, there's a reason why you are saying, you saw some big boys with billions. Why is it us? There's something they felt that I can communicate with this person. This person is, they are not flamboyant, they are not this. So I think what has happened, what I think the most important thing is you need to now start thinking collaboration in this whole tech, this one that you can be doing something here and collaborating with somebody that's in the US and you'll be doing a business in India, So I feel collaboration is key. And in doing that, you need to look within, really understand your own strengths and weaknesses and acknowledge it and look for that weakness as a strength in somebody else. If you do that, the sky's the limit, but to be honest, without collaboration now, you really won't go too far, so I think that's the most important thing. And then that genuinity and the fact that you are sincere, I think that's what's key. But for me, collaboration, partnerships, it doesn't have to be a permanent partnership. I won't say only God, but yes, we might have been lucky, but the truth is not everybody has the relationship we had from when we were small. That's because we know each other like we talk family stuff, we plan family stuff together. So you might not have that privilege, but you can have a joint venture. Is a short-term partnership. You can have joint ventures when you get the gains of what you want to get. Even the way we are developing the investment thing, it is project specific. So if the person wants to marry us for that project and says after it, I don't want a gain. But if you want to continue for long, then you have a line to continue for long. Then when we see that, yes, this person we can now say, yeah, come, there's something we'll set up for this. So I think another way is just to also, and this is where Chima's part is coming into that vision. Okay, to guard against it, why don't you have segmented partnerships, which will help you so far as you're getting to this goal? That's what it is. That's what I would say.
Okay, so let's have you, Mr. Chima, also speak to.
Okay, so I'll say that generally, I almost echoing what Didi just said. So there's this thing I read once, Gestalt theory. So basically, Gestalt theory in psychology, it states that the sum of a body is greater than the value of a body is greater than the sum of its arithmetic parts. So what it means is that together you are much stronger than you guys one by one if you came together. So together there's a critical mass. There are things that you can achieve that you can only dream of when you're
the force and power of two is much more than
exactly. So I think the critical thing is know yourselves, know your strengths and your weaknesses. Like I said, there's no point in replicating yourself. What you can do is that you can replicate the vision, the ambition, but in terms of the actual skills, the actual tech skills that you need to make you work, there's no point in replicating yourself. Look for someone that has that you don't have, and merge, become much more formidable, more stronger. So I think that's the critical makeup, the critical genetic makeup of a successful partnership.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I had asked offline, but I think I need to just, ask again, because I know some people have those concerns. I had mentioned that partnerships are more like marriages. The only difference in this particular one now, because yours goes way deep into family and all, the only difference is that you don't sleep and wake up in the same house. You are practically married. You spend more time, you reason about everything, you talk about family, So at the start of all this, and then transcending into, the real business, did you have times where people try to, bring those tribal talks and, plant those seeds that wouldn't have helped you, get to where you are now?
So for me, I think, so for me, it's a bit unique because it's there generally in the public, but I don't think it has ever come in. And I will say I keep going to the roots, because if anybody mentions that today, I have seen.
Because they'll say,
yes,
Jide, that's
yes,
Yoruba man.
yes,
Chima, that's an Igbo man. How is it working?
So I know that the thing that is making you, because it's a character that people are looking at, that are trying to attribute it to somebody. So if you know that somebody, then how with the character, whatever they are saying is like that. I know Chima, so it's whatever you say, you're like, okay, I've heard, but I don't understand what you're saying, because this is this person, right? I would rather talk to this person based. Okay, so if Chima is hiding some information, I will know if he's hiding some information in the sense that he doesn't want us to know what's going on, but we have a very open conversation, So for me, that doesn't even come.
So
in.
what has just closed that down for you is the openness.
Is the openness and the fact that you said it, to know yourselves, because I don't think it's so much about tribe. I think it is more about, did you allow that the so-called tribalistic thing that is supposed to really affect you? Did that person allow those things affect them? Yeah, we have even Yoruba. We have they don't like this collaboration we're talking about. We are not so much after. Some people will be looking at the back and what can I gain? So it's not as if, as you are saying, Igbo, we are not thinking about Igbo. They are negative parts. They are the ones that will try and corner and do,
True.
It's true. It's very true. So I mean, if you look
they
at
always
it,
see the Igbo guys as very fast with business.
Yes.
But Yorubas have theirs too.
yes, they have theirs too. I mean, what I see, and that's why it's good to always look at the positive side of anything. What trips me is the collaboration, whether it is real or is part-time, but the collaboration between even this whole what they do in the markets, that the about the market where they do that trade, that somebody trains with you and stays with you, all those things, apprenticeship, all those things. They are things that we should learn from.
True.
But if you just say negative all the way, you're just looking at only the negative part.
You did apprenticeship before you came together, so it is very vital to actually do apprenticeship. If you notice, most of those who are actually very good with business, they learned. They experienced someone, they saw the mistakes there, and then they took it to their own place and began to fine-tune those mistakes. So let me ask you the same questions.
So I mean, it's really funny because I think because of upbringing and where I grew and schooling and all of that. So those tribal lines I've just not seen them, in making my own personal decisions. Even in my personal life, like I told you off camera, my wife is Yoruba. I didn't go and say, first of all, Igbo girl, stay on, let's shortlist. No, it was
let's shortlist Igbo. Oh my God!
My point is, so that wasn't it. I mean, I don't see. I mean, we are human beings first before we are, Yoruba or Igbo or Hausa, and me being creative, I'm not being creative in an Igbo way. Jide being business smart is not being business smart in the Yoruba way, because his business smarts doesn't speak Yoruba. He speaks business.
He doesn't understand whatever that tribe.
He speaks business. So me being creative, my creativity is speaking creativity, and business-wise or should I say work-wise, is more about the competencies, and the tribal thing, I think, is something that we have to look for it to see. I mean, so before you even ask me this question, it's not a question that even occurred to me, because it's not something, it's not a line that we draw, even in the office or in the office's makeup. I don't think we can, I mean, I don't, as in this,
even now that I say that, I'm not trying to say,
it's not the criteria.
this person from, where's that person from? I don't even know.
Well, it's existing.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's in
so I think
existence.
it exists for people that choose to
allow it.
to solidify it and put it there.
I think what's important is that it's a barrier.
Amazing.
And if you want to think through something, don't let it be that barrier you go. Because that barrier, you'll be seeing it as one big giant. Meanwhile, there's
So
something
I
in that person.
wanted us to address this. Like I said, it's in existence. And what you have just said now nailed it. It's a barrier. And so it already kills whatever.
Yeah, they thought you have not gone for the meeting and they tell you that the person is from
And
Susuple.
you've just
So already
killed-
from there, like,
So maybe that is a $1 billion transaction and you've just, lost that opportunity. So don't even give room,
yes,
like you have
be
said.
open-minded. Go there knowing that you want to learn certain things. We're not saying open yourself up, and I mean there are people that always want to take advantage of you, but Hausa people take advantage. Igbo people take advantage. Yoruba people take
Everybody
advantage. So
takes
I don't know where,
advantage. Advantage is not colored or tribal.
It's not.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, for teaching us how to be amazing partners. This has stood the test of time, 14 years and going. Officially, I always have to remember to say, because it started in the boys' quarter, of your house while you were still in school, and I'm so happy that you've been able to take it to where it is today. I'd like to say thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and always make sure that someone also benefits from these conversations that you get to listen to. Thank you once again, and God bless you.